Good morning, everybody. My name is Adeline Singh. We are looking at a few more people that are being admitted as we go in. And this is a short session, a 3-hour session for this morning. Again, my name is Adeline Singh. We've had introductions at the induction program that happened on the 18th of November. Please, if I can ask everyone to review the videos that are on your box folders. We have had a round of introductions as well on the induction day. So I'm not going to go through any of the overview of people or profiles. And I think we'll all just get to know each other as we go along for the session. So this morning we are going to go through 2 modules. The first module being emotional intelligence, and the second module is going to be on leadership. And I think we can all agree that these are quite important modules in our daily lives. And I'll go through the details of it. I'm going to start to share my screen, and if I can get thumbs up, I want everyone to just get familiar with all the emojis that are on their screen as well. They are reaction emojis. If you can click the word below your screen, it says react. And when you click on that, you can actually raise your hand, or you can click on the clap or heart emoji sign, anything if you feel you want to engage or just make me aware of your feeling and emotions of what your thoughts regarding the program. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm very much looking forward to engaging with all of you. Please feel free to engage. I know there are a few people that have explained the situation on time constraints as well. And I am fully aware of that. Please can I ask everyone to just stay muted as well. For the purpose of this video, I will probably, just to make sure that we don't have any issues with the video streaming, I'm going to switch off my video for the moment and just make sure that everyone can just listen and hear me carefully and clearly. Can we start to get some people, while I start to share my screen, if everyone can start sifting through the emojis, let me know your thoughts and feelings this morning. If I can get anyone to start clicking some emojis. Thank you so much, everyone. It's so great to see all of you here this morning. And as I start to share my screen, I think it's quite fitting that we are starting with a good program of mine that I enjoy actually showing. It's on emotional intelligence, and I find that the program on emotional intelligence has been a key program that people find that it's a must, basically, for any organization to have emotional intelligence training for one's staff. I will be sharing the screen now, and you'll just let me know if you can see the screen. In front of you, we are going to be working through an accredited training program. As I said to you previously, this is an accredited training course. At the end of the program, you will receive an accredited certificate, and you will be required to put together a portfolio of evidence. And in that portfolio of evidence, you will have certain evidence information that will need to be submitted as well. And I look forward to supporting you through this as well. I can see that there are a few people still being admitted, but we will continue. And please take note that the session is recorded. And so those of you that need to go back and have a look at the video, it will be available to all of you. All right. Please take note that I will be unable to see some of your information and the chats now and again. I'm going to try and post these chats onto the side of my screen. And so If there's anyone that has any questions, please feel free to stop me. I see that we've got people that are posting on the chat already. Okay, so the module on applied principles of emotional intelligence is an accredited module, and it is part of the business management level 5 program. So there are key principles when it comes to emotional intelligence, principles and concepts of emotional intelligence. It's important for you to know and understand that. Personal and interpersonal competencies. We will then be going through impact of emotional intelligence on your work and life, and evaluating your own level of emotional intelligence as well. So we are having to look through these modules. Now, these are sub-modules. If you recall, you've been invited to module 1 and 2 of the session today. Everything you see here today is sub-modules of module 1, just for your noting. So, sub-modules. And what you'll be required to do is attend these 2-module training. If you cannot be here for the module, please make sure that you watch the video. We are available 7 days a week after hours if you need to chat. We're all business owners and quite busy with our schedule. So I'm not expecting that you have time all the time to concentrate on your studies, but this is a priority for you because these modules actually determine what type of a leader you will be from now and into the future, and how you can actually grow the business and the operations of the business. So this program is broken up into formative activities and summative activities. So the formative activities, you will already have received a pre-work assignment. And in that formative activities, that pre-work assignment, it gave you little insights into yourself, started asking questions about who are you? Who is the person that you are? And very personal questions that were asked in the pre-work. And you will see further down the line why these questions were asked of you. And then you will be faced with a summative assessment as well, following the formative activities. Now, the summative assessment has just 3 questions to it. And I will be having a session with all of you on your schedule. It comes up to the coming Sunday, where we'll be having a follow-up session. So it's a Sunday in 2 weeks' time. We will be putting together and basically looking back at what are these modules that we have completed together, what assignment questions you have before you, what are you struggling with, and what support can we provide to you. I can assure you that if you commit yourself to this program, that you can get through this module, and in a year's time, less than a year, you will be able to complete this program sufficiently well to pass and be found competent. So still admitting a little few people that are coming in, but let's move on. The concepts of emotional intelligence is the first part, and on all the modules, you will be going through assessment criteria. So when you see this word called AC in your module, it means assessment criteria. This means that you will be assessed on knowing these concepts. So the principles of emotional intelligence through work and life, and then your assessment criteria 2 will be on the concepts of emotional intelligence, and one would have to just look at describing those examples. So let's look at emotional intelligence and what it means to you, or I'm quite sure that all of you have come across the term emotional intelligence. And I will be requiring all of you to please be attentive to this module. I will be calling on you to ask you a few questions about what are your thoughts, what are your experiences, and what are you exposed to there from your perspective. So emotional intelligence is that feeling, that potential feel that we use, we communicate with it. It's about where we learn from others and how we manage. So it's about understanding and explaining emotions, our emotions. When we go through emotional intelligence, it helps us with understanding ourselves, also trying to understand others, and almost to the point where this helps us with improving our decision-making processes. It also helps to reduce staff turnover when you can understand what emotions your staff have, especially when they speak, when they have behavioral traits. And some managers don't actually pick up on these traits. We have increased team performance just on identifying one's emotional intelligence. It's how you see people communicate. It's how you see them identifying with certain concepts. So there is an increased personal well-being, increase for yourself, who now will be filled with that notion of emotional intelligence, knowing full well what others are feeling, or almost trying to know that this is what is going on, or there is a problem with a person. So it also decreases occupational stress. So emotional intelligence is going to be quite a big factor in how you move forward as an organization, how you move forward as a manager, or as a CEO of a company, or as someone heading up operations and teams. It's imperative that you focus on making sure that you understand fully well the concepts of emotional intelligence. So some of the principles of emotional intelligence is social intelligence. And this social intelligence is about how people think and thinking rationally to deal with things in the environment. May I ask those who are unmuted to please mute themselves so that we don't have any disturbances? Thank you very much. And so continuing on social intelligence is that person who is able to understand globally the individuals that are around them and thinking rationally how people deal with the environment around them and how they understand people and the intelligence of people around them. The multiple intelligence is more the intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence. These are important types of intelligence because they are measured by the IQ and related tests. So for those of you that have been on IQ tests, or when you've applied for senior leadership roles, you would have been sent on the Neethling brain tests or other tests that link to testing your ability to manage your environment. It tests intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligences. And this is why even big companies choose to do these tests, because they want to make sure that the right people are chosen for these positions, so that it helps to boost the business and the relationship with the senior leaders in business and the employees. It also reduces staff turnover significantly when a leader is emotionally in touch with their feelings. So by intrapersonal intelligence, this is meant to understand the cognitive ability, and it's the cognitive ability to understand ourselves. And the intrapersonal intelligence, this helps us to tap into our being, ourself. And these abilities help us to interact with other people, also helps us to interpret people's behavior, and that is known as the interpersonal intelligence. So in your learner guides, now, if you refer to the box folder that I've sent out to all of you, you would have received additional items, which are videos. I would urge you in your own time to please read through these videos and understand what is being communicated there, because some of these concepts are explained from a workplace perspective and what is happening in society. You will also have your module, which is your learner guide. And your learner guide is basically there to give you all the detail about these concepts. So, whilst I'm facilitating to all of you the high level overview of the program, if you want more detail, the detail is in your learner guides. And if you need further detail apart from your learner guide, then please do not hesitate to reach out. These modules are aimed at helping you to actually implement these concepts in your workplace as you work on a daily basis. If you are unable to share how these concepts relate to the daily business environment, then you're going to find yourself at a loss, not understanding how these concepts apply. And this leaves you with little to no value coming from this program. So I urge you to go through your learner guide modules, download it from there, print it out if need be. These are daily concepts you will use all the time. So let's look at Goleman's 5 domains of emotional intelligence. And according to Goldman, EQ is the essential premise of EQ, he believes, is to be successful requires effective awareness. So he's saying that emotional intelligence is about having that effective awareness, control, and management of one's own emotions and those of other people. I'm sure that all of you have been in a workplace environment one time or the other. And even if it's not a workplace environment, if it's a social setting where you see that people's emotions are about to get out of hand. And this is when people are not really self aware of what their emotions do to others and the impact their emotions have on others. Because there are sometimes trends with certain people where their emotions run away from them, they're not in touch with themselves. And even if people have to say it out to them, some people just ignore the fact that they have no emotional intelligence and no awareness of themselves. So EQ embraces 2 concepts of intelligence, which is 1, understanding yourself, your goals, who you are, your behavior, your intentions. And 2, understanding how other people feel, their feelings. And if you can't come to terms with these 2 concepts and these aspects of intelligence, it will be quite difficult for all of you to build a rapport with stakeholders, clients, or even your staff. These 5 domains, the 1 to 5 that are listed on the right-hand side here, are quite important. Knowing one's emotions, managing your emotions, motivating yourself, and recognizing emotions in others, and handling relationships. So in your workbook, you have a formative assessment, and you've been given an exercise that will help you to understand if you are in touch with your emotions or not. Show of hands, please. How many of you have actually completed your exercises? So let's get some people online. Just a show of hands. Is everyone here? Can I get a thumbs up? Thank you, Gary. Thank you. For those of you, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'm actually trying to click this drop down. It doesn't seem to be working well for me this morning, but I'm trusting that those of you that have had a look at these exercises, you've actually on the exercise seen that it's asked you a few personal questions. Actually, it's asked you a lot of personal questions. The exercise would have taken you around 30 minutes to complete the entire pre-work activities. If any of you are still uncertain, you're welcome to message me and give me a call, even later this afternoon or this evening if you want to chat about it. These scores are quite important in knowing yourself, knowing where you stand in terms of your emotional well-being. So in the exercise that was presented to you, for those of you that have your exercise in front of you, the formative questions were asking you things like, do you think you're able to do things as well as most other people? Or Are you troubled by feelings of inadequacy at times where you have to make a speech? Do you feel nervous? Or do you feel quite confident that you can make decisions? Would you say you have a favorable opinion of yourself? So when you look at that exercise A that was given to you, there were 30 questions regarding this. And those 30 were asking you about yourself. Now, this exercise is not to have everyone share with each other because this is a personal assessment for yourselves that were given to you. You will find the answers in your assessment assignment workbook. So if you refer to your assignment workbook is going to refer you to this exercise, and it's going to ask you to count the numbers where you put 1 on or where you ticked. And if you've ticked over 19 of these, so if you've ticked more than 19 of these questions, then it means you are very much in touch with your emotions. If you scored below 19, that would reflect that you are not as in touch with your emotions as you would have thought. This exercise is just for yourself. When we have the one-on-one sessions, you will then be able to share these assessments with me, and I will then guide you through what is the meaning of all of this. So for the purpose of the session, please go and do that exercise. It is so beneficial for you to know where you stand at this point in time when it comes to your own personal emotions. So the concepts of emotional intelligence include, but are not limited to, these areas where we look at self-esteem, self-confidence, self-awareness, and self-image. So I'm going to ask a show of hands to everyone. Who can describe for me? Anyone here can tell me, who can describe for me what for you is self-awareness? Anyone who can unmute, please raise your hands, unmute. Tell me what you would understand by self-awareness or yourself, knowing yourself. What does this mean for you? Anyone want to share? What does self-awareness mean for you? For me, self-awareness means being in touch with my feelings and my emotions, being aware that probably I talk too much and people are the ones who are listening. Teto, thank you so much. Go ahead and share with us, please.
Hi, Adeline. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I think for me, self-awareness would be knowing my weaknesses and knowing my strengths just as well. Understanding that in the face of criticism, that there are lessons and there could be truth in what is being said about me or what is being said to me, and being able to understand how I can then take what I am being taught and move it forward. I think for me, self-awareness looks like that, being able to understand where I can improve and or
Yes.
basically where I'm lacking, and then how I can then use what I know I'm strong at or with to then improve.
Wow, spot on. Thank you so much, Teto, for that and for sharing. That is spot on. It's about knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses. If if you're a person that's in a crowd of people, but you sort of, that little voice says, listen, I'm talking too much now. That's being aware that you're actually not the one that's allowing others to speak, or you're not the one listening more, you're actually talking more. Then that's a bit of self-awareness where you're aware about what you're actually doing. And that's the first step to recognizing yourself and what you're doing. Because ideally, you should be the one listening more and talking a little less unless you are prompted to talk, or prompted to offer advice or information. And also, when we look at things like self-esteem, and self-esteem can be the positive or negative of oneself. So, self-esteem is, how do I view myself? Do I have a low self-esteem of myself? Do I have a low reflection of myself? Or do I think I'm pretty good? Do I think that I'm good enough to, I can do anything? So, there are people that have very high self-esteem, think quite highly of themselves. But sometimes people think that self esteem might just be a bit too much, bordering on egotistical. So, what happens when self esteem becomes something else? And all of a sudden, and I think also a lot of you might have seen this in your lifetime, there might be that one person that thinks so well of themselves. And it is okay for people to be well and to have a positive self esteem, but not to the point of eccentric egotism. So, being so egotistical that people avoid even being in your presence. So, this is why emotional intelligence is so important to you as future leaders. You are a leader in your own right, but it is how you portray yourself in a business environment. It is how you carry yourself in a social setting, in meetings, that actually makes a difference on whether people wish to be in your company or not going forward. So, self image, it's about how you perceive yourself, and that is quite straightforward as well. And then self confidence, and that's what the belief of your abilities, what you are able to do, the impression you have on yourself, positive or negative. And there are people that feel that they are self confident. How many of you here feel that you're self confident? I'm confident enough that I can stand in front of a crowd, impromptu. I've been asked to make a presentation, impromptu. I've been asked to address or go and greet a new group of staff, and you can do that confidently. Do you ever say to your manager or say to the CEO, oh no, I can't, I haven't prepared, I'm not ready? If you are able to just speak out of the blue when someone gives you a topic, if you know the company well, self confidence is about being able to speak whenever prompted, no matter the setting, because you know the subject well. And imagine the confidence of someone who works with you, like your CEO, or if you are the CEO, other trusted partners who believe that you have such confidence that we know that you can actually address people without even cringing at all, without even thinking twice, because they have that trust in you that you are a confident person, you know the subject. So you will be having a formative assignment that deals with the importance of these elements. And also, there is 5 elements for team harmony and success. So I will refer you, you will have a look at these slides. Now, the slides will only be posted after we run the workshops. So every afternoons after these sessions, the slides will be posted under the additional information, and you can go back and have a look at the slides as well. And these slides actually show you right here that if you refer to your learner guide, for those of you that have printed your learner guides, you can refer to page 8 to 11, and you will see that also on page 24 to 27, the concepts of the importance of the elements for team harmony and team success are there. So we even refer you to where can you find the answer to these questions without having to sweat about running through 50 pages of information. So the course that we give you is quite straightforward, but it has good referencing for all of you that need to find find the information for your assignments. So let's look at the Johari window. So the Johari window is a tool that has been used to help people improve self-awareness, and also it helps with understanding people and themselves in the group. So it's a mutual understanding of how people view themselves, how they view others, how others view them, and so forth. So in the Johari window, and subsequent to this, I will be giving you real examples of how we see this in the workplace. So when you look at the Johari window, you will have come across this in concepts, people speaking about the Johari window in sessions. And you might not have understood the term of the Johari window, but now you'll be fully aware and understanding the concept of the Johari window. So the Johari window has 4 quadrants. The quadrant on your top left is the open quadrant. The open quadrant is about where you are known by yourself. So you know yourself, and you're also known by others. You're an open book, basically. So if you look at the 2 there, known by self, known by others, it means that you're open book. Everyone knows you. You don't come across as someone who hides things from anyone. Or on the right-hand side, it is the blind quadrant. And the blind quadrant is not known by self. And sometimes you don't maybe know yourself, but others also known by others. So you are known by others, but not known by yourself. And this is a bit of a concern in the blind window. You'll see in the explanations later. Other people seem to know you better than you know yourself. And you've heard that concept, but what did it really mean? The quadrant at the bottom left, the hidden column, the hidden quadrant is about known by yourself, but not known by others. This is also quite a mysterious block because sometimes this is used in strategy in the workplace. And if you get the book called Sun Tzu, The Art of War, I'm going to ask all of you to get a copy of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It teaches you about business strategy and things that you know yourself, but others don't really know. And they won't know. They won't even see it coming. It's like workplace tact. And we do this in boardrooms where there's takeovers of big organizations where organizations take over other companies. So they know exactly the strategy that they want to use, but others won't see it coming until the very last moment. And they do it so tactfully. And then the section on not known by self, but known and not known by others. Sometimes you don't even know. You don't know what you don't know. And others don't even know. And that's a quadrant of confusion that you only see it coming when it happens after the fact, and no one else saw it coming. So the Johari window seems to have quadrants of mystery, and these quadrants of mystery, when one looks at the quadrants of mystery, it is almost, I'm going to move the side block here. It's almost looks like, I'm now going to close that, yes. It almost looks like an iceberg. So if you look at the iceberg on the right-hand side, your subconscious mind is possibly made up of 90% of things going on there, but your conscious mind only has 10% of what anyone else can see. So this creates a space where good communication and cooperation occur, and it's free from distractions, but there's mistrust, there's conflict and misunderstanding. This open area here, it's for everyone in a group. This allows for people to seek and actively listen to feedback from group members. So when one looks at the conscious mind, we look at the iceberg at the top. Whatever people see is what they get. But sometimes people don't really understand the environment that well. And the subconscious mind holds a lot of information that people are not readily available to share. And people are using this very tactfully in in business. They guard their information quite close to them, and they only share it with trusted sources. So let's go into the detail of the open area. So the open area of what's known to you and known to others. So in this space, where the information is shared openly, this is a part that everyone can see. And you comfortable talking to people about this, about subjects. And if we look at a workplace example, if you are telling your team openly that you like leading the teams and doing presentations to them, and they see that you facilitate well, they know that you are a trusted person. And also other colleagues, they feel confident asking you things. You're an approachable person. They know you won't hold back. And you can handle anything, even client presentations. You get put on the spot. And this is important because the bigger is this area. The bigger this area is, the smoother the teamwork becomes. So it's easier to deal with teams. People are able to understand what your strengths and your communication style is, and they know what your boundaries are. So think about this for yourself. This is an opportunity for self-reflection right now, because remember that emotional intelligence is about being self-aware. Are you the person who shares openly, or do you resist sharing? Are you the person where team members approach uh, you over others in the organization? And do people probably prefer your communication style? Have they given you any indication of this? Let's look now at the blind spot. What's known to you, but known to others as well. Not known to you, sorry, but known to others. So this is the information others will notice about you, but you sometimes are never aware of it. And a typical example in the workplaces, when you think that you are very clear with giving instructions to your team, but the team looks at you, they all feel confused. They feel very rushed because you rush past their desks. You say, guys, this is what we're going to do. We've got an order coming in, make sure it gets delivered to the customer. All the information is sitting with the supply chain team. You haven't really said much. You weren't really clear. You just said there's an order. You haven't stated who the customer is. But the team have adapted by always asking follow-up questions, because they know that you're not clear with your questions. And you don't realize that this pattern is there until someone will gently say to you, probably in a feedback session or a 360-degree performance review, that your way of giving instructions is not really clear enough for us. It's very difficult for us to take this into account. And this is the opportunity for you as a leader to reflect on, do I give clear instructions of what needs to be done? Where must it be done? When must it be done? By whom? Who are the responsible persons? Who will be accountable at the end of the day? Why must it be done? What is my deadlines? If you are a manager giving instructions, if you are sitting with an operations team that you need to lead, and you're finding that the team almost never gets the work done correctly, or they never get it done on time, maybe you have a blind spot here, and that needs to be adjusted for you. You need to reduce your blind spot, find out, put a survey in place and find out. Even do a WhatsApp poll to people at the workplace and say to them, do you think that my instructions to you are always clear, sometimes clear, or never clear? Would any of you be interested in doing things like that? So always clear, sometimes clear, or never clear. That, I can guarantee you, is a scenario that I've used in the workplace. I've helped departments move from achieving targets to only meeting half targets, because we used the scenario, because we found that why is Department A meeting targets, but Department B was not meeting targets. And it came down to the instructions. The team members took even longer time to go and find out more information. Some of them also felt that the CEO, the manager, the team leader was not an approachable person. So they went around to someone else to get the information. And that isn't good because it takes a lot of time. And so if you know you have the blind spot, if you are now self-aware and aware of this, what are you going to do to improve the relationship with people in your team? Are you willing to now listen, adapt your style, and adjust accordingly? Or do you still need time to figure out whether you do this? So I will say to you, run a poll. When we have our one-on-one sessions, let me know if you need guidance on this, because this program is expected to help you with real-time management, operational, and leadership roles that you are executing in your workplace. The third part is the hidden area, which is known to you, but not known to others. So this information you will choose not to share. It might be personal or might be a skill or a strength that you keep private because that's your edge. That's what makes you different from the rest. We call it your marketing edge. So an example of this is that you're quite good at data analysis probably, but you keep it to yourself. You don't want extra workload. You over the time, the team struggles with reporting, but no one realizes that you could help. Now, this is a bit of a problem as well when you don't share with other team members that you have a skill set that you could share and help work move a little faster. Keeping it to yourself because you don't want to take on additional work only causes the team to delay in meeting targets or achieving success as a team, as an organization. So this is important because sharing information about your hidden talents, your other skill sets, helps to save time. Time for the team makes you all look good at the end of the day when you teach each other. The whole connotation of I will not teach someone because they're going to take my job. Your job will only be taken if you don't do your work, if the team members don't do your work, don't do their work, if this is the role that they play. Collaboration will be much easier because people will know that you are a person who opens up. You are a person who teaches. You will be that person who will be in line to be team leader, supervisor, manager, and leader. The saying goes, a great leader will keep their most strongest allies with them because they want people of influence, people of intelligence, and people that know what they're doing, all the strong people around them. Why? Because strong people make me look good as a leader. Strong people help me to lead. Strong people help me to be effective in my leadership role. If you start to employ people because they are family members of someone else, but they don't have the skill set, then as a future leader or a current leader, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. If you find yourself in a compromising position where you have to take the person in, immediately do a needs analysis and find out what skills the person has, what are the skills gap that that person has, and look at what one would need to look at to train that person into the person you need them to be by your side. So only surrounding yourself with the strongest people. So the unknown area, this is not known to you, not known to others, and this is a potential that hasn't been discovered yet. So you don't even know yourself, and neither does your team. So especially during a workplace crisis, you start to take charge and handle conflict calmly. No one even expects you. Even if you're part of a team, you're a team member, and you decide, I'm going to take a leadership role. And afterwards, others start to look at you and realize that you actually have a great leadership potential that is worth developing. So never take opportunities for granted. Every opportunity is an opportunity to make the best, to showcase your skills, to show who you are. And others will start to see that you have great potential to be in roles that one would have never thought that you would have fulfilled. So this is important because this area shrinks when you try new tasks. So joining projects outside of your comfort zone or receiving coaching, it's now hidden talent that gets uncovered. So this is like the window of discovery where you're going to start to move into the zones, various zones. And this is the start of being the future head of a department that no one else would have thought you would have even had the potential to run. Let's take a moment to pause right now. I'm talking a lot. Let's hear from you. I'm looking to bring up the window again of everyone here. Can we get some insights? How many of you here have found yourself in any of these quadrants, recognized yourself in these quadrants? Maybe Lunga, Mandla, or Selo, Selo Make, Tandeka. Anyone here wants to share with me? Have you noticed yourself, anything about yourself in these quadrants? Do you see yourself in any of these quadrants? Do you notice yourself that you could be the person who is the unknown, but you have talents that you could actually share with others? People don't even know that you have a hidden talent. How many of you here are wanting to share with me? Come on, guys. Tandeka, I know that you're here. Are you finding yourself in any of these areas? Remember that, just to recap, that open area where you're an open book, everyone knows everything about you, or the blind spot. And this is what other people notice about you, but you don't even notice. Brandon, thank you so much.
Yeah, so I thought I just jump in here. I think while we're on this slide, the blind spot is something I noticed about even I think my own managerial style is that sometimes, I would speak to team members and I'd assign tasks and then they'd do the task, come back, and then it's not like, what we need or what needs to be done. And then even once I've given feedback on how it needs to be done, the second time the reverts come back, like, there's the many questions. So I think that's something, when you use that example, I think I identified about myself, because that is a case that's happened with me in my team where my team members have asked me various questions, so I think that's been a
Yes.
blind spot for me. And maybe I don't think I'm as clear with instructions as I should be. So yeah, that's what resonated for me.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brandon. I think then use the poll that I spoke about just for the team members that you deal with on a regular basis, because they are the ones, and you have to say in advance to them, there is, I'm on a developmental journey, and I would really appreciate the criticism. So people will feel, they won't feel victimized if they give you an honest opinion. And you say to people, do you find my instructions clear? Um, so is my instructions clear, not as clear, or not clear, rarely clear? So just use that and people will start to give you feedback. That's one way to get things done quicker and faster. Thanks for that, Brandon. Anyone else want to share on blind spot, or let's look at hidden area as well? This is information you don't want to share. I think a lot of us here have this. We've got a hidden area and things that are personal as well. Selo, thank you so much for sharing. Go ahead, and you can unmute as well. Just unmute, Selo. Thanks. So you'll just click, thank you. I see you're unmuted. Go ahead. Sorry, Selo, I cannot hear you at all. And I'm not sure. And maybe just put it into the chat.
Hello, Adeline.
Oh, yes, Selo, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think some technical error just happened as I was trying to unmute there and just
No worries at
went
all.
off. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I think maybe most of us as leaders, we find what we like to believe that we are an open book, and the other reason I think maybe that it makes that to be is that you find that the people you are leading, they are actually at times maybe just afraid to ask you questions or to give that feedback to say maybe we didn't understand, even though you're not like a tyrant, but you find you being there or their leader, it makes it a little bit difficult for someone to come back and say, yeah, you know what, I didn't get what you said. They just go on and do whatever they thought they understand, or you gave them whatever information. Or at times I find ourselves maybe when trying to explain, we go round and round in circles and we just lose our guys in that
Yes.
running around. Yeah.
Yes. So that example of the blind spot is so important for you to know the Selo in your workplace settings, because how much of time now gets wasted just waiting for someone to actually come back to you and say, I didn't really understand. And that boils down to our leadership traits as well, management styles. Do you provide an open office, open door approach to others where people can easily come to you and ask you to just reiterate, even if they did not want to ask you in an open forum? You have to be an approachable manager, an approachable team member. If you are not approachable, it makes it quite difficult for people to want to even come to you and even ask. We call it the fear effect in the workplace, where team members won't want to approach you. And even in my workplace as well, where I worked in a corporate and I led a team of 93 people. And in my team, I didn't realize that there were cultural differences in people's behavior. Someone, example, approaching you, but they don't look in your eyes, they don't look at you, their head is down, and that becomes a cultural difference. And it was great for me, for other team members to come to me, because I had said, I can't understand why every time I speak to a certain individual, they respond to me with their head down. And it was an opportunity for me to be schooled. But you are never too high up in the value chain to be schooled by any staff member below you, younger than you, or older than you. We should always be open to criticism, that we can learn a bit more about the fact that maybe in the workplace there are cultural differences that require people to behave in a certain way, their body language, their behavior, their attitude. So all of these things people need to be self-aware of as well. Thank you for that, Selo. Let's move on. And I think we've made the explanations known well on these areas. And I trust that all of you are going to look at these and understand a little bit more how this impacts the organization for all of you. So we come to the section on the locus of control, and I'm going to refer you again. Your learner guide, page 16 to 19, delves into the detail of this. So a locus of control is one's individual perception about underlying main causes of events in their lives. This is about the belief of whether the outcomes of our actions are contingent on, what we do, or the events outside our personal control. So it's an internal control and an external control. So the internal locus of control and external locus of control, I have further details on that for you. But just to give you the high level of the external locus of control, and this is where individuals believe that their behavior is guided by fate or by luck, or just by the circumstance of something happening externally, something that was not of your control. And then internal locus of control is where people believe that it's their behavior, and their behavior is guided by their personal decisions and efforts. And you say, oh, this is my fault. It was my decision to do this, and it was my personal decision and my efforts that have led to what has transpired in this transaction. So locus of control goes, the detail of the locus of control further goes into detail to say that what drives the results in your life? What do you believe drives the results in your life? For example, do I think things happen because of what I do, because of the things that are outside of my control? So if we look at these two types, the internal locus of control, so believing your choices, your effort, your behavior shapes what happens and is the result of what happens out there. In other words, if I know if I work hard, I can change the outcome. If a project that I am dealing with at the mines is not going well, the cleanup that we were supposed to do cannot be done over the 3-day period as required. I need a week. But the client is very, very adamant that they need you to come up with a solution. It is doable, which would mean probably you need to get more staff in, you need to make some changes, adjust schedules, put in overtime. But this is in your control. So, sorry, just admitting someone. So if you work hard, you can change the outcome. Not just working hard. As a leader, if I concentrate and take the time to look at all the possible solutions for meeting the 3-day target of the mine and ensuring that that activities are completed within the 3-day period, I can then help to meet the target. I don't have to always go with the schedule that I have in place, because this is how we do things. As businesses, we have to be adaptable and flexible to the client's needs. So if it means bringing staff in additionally, having shift changes, working longer hours, you can definitely change the outcome. So that is about the internal locus of control. You have an opportunity to be able to make that change and become flexible enough. If you're an organization that's not flexible enough, do you think that you are going to be chosen on the next contract for the organization or not? And I think the answer there is just straightforward. No. The external locus of control, these are things that are outside of your focus, and it's outside of your control. So things like luck, fate, you say that we had COVID, for example, and you had no control over this, because no matter what you tried to do, you couldn't do business as usual. And it was based on circumstance. So based on what happens in your environment, based on what happens around you, if something should happen and there is an incident at the mine or incident outside at the offices or in the environment, your schedule will have to be changed. How many of you here have had to deal with internal or external locus of control? I'm going to look at a show of hands now. Anyone, please? Okay, should I maybe call on people to ask them? Maybe Gary or Mandla? Would anyone like to share? Do you have incidents of internal or external locus of control? Anything that has happened? Probably you had a schedule to do a certain amount of work and something happened. And I can understand that most of you here had to work during the COVID period. How did you handle things at sites during COVID? Was it business as usual? Did you have to change strategy? Anyone? Okay, I understand it's quite early still in the morning.
Selo has his hand up.
Thank you, Selo. You're welcome to
Adeline,
speak, Selo.
yes. Maybe looking at internal locus of control. I think what I had experienced, you'll definitely correct me if I'm wrong there. But I think what I had once experienced early on in terms of running of our company was that at a point, I remember we had to cut off salaries. You know, when you are used to getting more in terms of salary, let's say you're getting about 50 grand and you had to really cut off salaries, but you couldn't cut off your employees' salaries. But I had to cut my own. But the belief there was that I thought, obviously, if I cut on my salary and I use whatever I used to take home to support the business, that would change how maybe the business would come out at a later
Yes.
stage. But it was more putting everything on my shoulders in terms of finances and physical work, because I had to work now, putting more hours instead of getting other people's. Now I end up being more of a technician as well and running the business. So all those components in terms of finance and physical and running the business came into play, thinking that it will change the outcome of how our company was doing, which it didn't really change much because it was a numbers game in this instance in the
Yes.
company. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thanks, Selo. Thanks for sharing. And sometimes you have to be the jack of all trades. Sometimes you have to make very hard decisions, especially during that period of COVID. And we know that lots of people were put in a position of having to take a salary cut or even be retrenched. And because of these external factors, difficult decisions needed to be made so that the future of the business could be sustained. So thank you so much for that. Great, great example of that. Let's, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there, because I just want to maybe Adeline, you can just speak more about the personal part, because one of the things I'm struggling with is like it's almost like a 50-50, right? It's like I believe there's both. It's like I believe there's a locus of control internally and externally for me. So it's like
Yes.
I'm a religious person and I believe in God, for example, and I believe that you know God plays a significant role in blessing me and guiding me, etc. But then I also understand, or I feel like I understand the internal part, like of the choices I make. Like if I don't wake up early in the morning and prepare for this session, that I'm not gonna know, like what to say, for example, or I'm not gonna understand what's happening or have any context of what's happening. So it's like, there's both, and I don't know if
Yes.
that's, I'm just
Yes,
talking
very
like a
much.
personal level. Yeah. So I don't know how you can be both.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
So in every situation, there are internal and external locus of controls. And when it comes to the religious side, there are, a lot of people have a spiritual journey that they are on. And for them, the spiritual journey dictates how their lives should be, the decisions they should take, and what they should do with their lives. And it gets incorporated into their daily work, the operations of their life. And that helps to shape them, the people that they are. We do find that there are clashes in business because business takes a business approach to say, this is how things should be. And this comes down to, for example, let's take, for example, what's been happening in the media currently. Now, in the media, there are people that are involved in untoward activities in organizations, and the untoward activities happen through other people doing bad things in an organization that makes the whole organization take a bad name. And that's no control of anyone else's, that they get labeled because of someone else, or the notion that something went wrong in a business, or maybe it's just corrupt activities. Whatever the case is, you can't control that there. So no matter what you do, the results have been decided by the circumstance around you. In that space, also at the same time, one would look at if the effort, if your effort doesn't matter, you start believing the external forces control things. You'll say, yes, God is in control. Brandon, you've raised your hands again.
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to just direct your attention to the chat. Gary has said something.
Yes, Gary, thank you. You welcome to.
So I think Gary is unable to unmute.
Oh, okay. So Gary said that during COVID they were classified as essential because they supplied the quarry buildings at Matla. So their mine and operations remained fully functional. They operated with the internal locus of control, where they compiled new regulations, they tightened health and safety at site, and they managed shifts and logistics carefully, and they focused on meeting clients' needs instead of waiting passively for conditions to improve. Thanks for that, Gary. You'll find that these notions of the internal locus of control helps you to understand that you do have some control. You can make changes. If you work together, you know that you need the business to be sustainable, you will move forward based on this. Just so that everyone knows very quickly, Calvin Nembedzane, who is our leadership advisor, has also joined the group and will be going through the leadership module, co-facilitating with me. When we get to that, I'll be introducing all of you to Calvin. So let's look at this from the perspective of the workplace as well. When we look at the corporate workplace example of Lerato and Sam. So Lerato, in terms of the internal locus of control, a project she submitted gets rejected. And she thinks, okay, so I need to improve my presentation. I need to get clearer data and try again, because she believed that the outcome depended on her actions and it was her responsibility. And she will try and influence the results to make it more positive in her favor next time. But Sam, from an internal locus control perspective, the same project gets rejected, but Sam thinks that management never supports his ideas. He thinks that there's no even point even trying again because they even favor other people. And you will get this in the workplace. Some people feel that they are not as liked as others. They are not the favorites. So he blames the forces outside of himself. He feels he can't change anything, so he withdraws, he gets demotivated. And this is how we have retention problems in the workplace. People leave because they feel unappreciated, they're demotivated, they don't get to feel part of a team. And this is important because people with that internal locus often show initiative of problem solving and accountability. They know that it's their responsibility and they are accountable at the end of the day. But people with the external locus of control, they sometimes feel stuck, they're helpless. They are sometimes quite negative, passive, because they think maybe the outcome is already decided. Someone will say, it's the stars are not aligned. God says it's not my time yet. This is not within my control, or someone didn't like me. So that's more also more detail of clarity in terms of internal locus of control. And everyone can read more detail on that. We spent quite a lot of time on internal locus of control. So the next submodule, which is on emotional intelligence in terms of intrapersonal relationship in life and work situation. So this is on the emotional competence. So the emotional competence refers to a person's ability to express their feelings. We've spoken about feelings and emotions, and this implies that other people and others determine our ability to effectively and successfully lead and express. So when we look at the emotional competence quadrants here, one of which is the suppression of emotion is not useful. And this is teaching people to suppress their emotions is part of trying to control them. So people will say, don't blurt out, don't have a fit, don't scream out loud, and don't be angry. And people are sent for anger management and asked to suppress their emotions. And it's not quite useful to suppress one's emotions, but rather face it and deal with it. And then emotionally competent people who express their emotions appropriately to situations, they won't seek to suppress their emotions in others. They allow people to speak, they allow themselves to speak, and they allow the whole scenario to play out. So emotional intelligence in a teamwork phrase, emotional intelligence is increasingly being promoted as necessary for successful teamwork. And we know that without successful teams, we won't get companies to reach target and be successful. That means no new contracts, no new business, and the organization starts to suffer. Your biggest assets in your organization, and I repeat, your biggest and most valued assets in your organization should be your team. Your work team are the people who make the organization operate. It helps you with your success. Let's look at essential attributes of positive interdependence. Essential attributes of positive interdependence for successful teams. So for us to have a successful team, giving and receiving help for tasks and personal issues, it's important. We find that a lot of businesses are investing in wellness programs for their teams. They help with resources and information. They're also helping people with team behavior. They have team building exercises, challenging people on each other's reasoning. And that's where you have like team building sessions where people really open up and people are encouraged to achieve the best of themselves. So the importance of teamwork is about having to reason with people, understanding their social skills, reflecting on the effectiveness of each team member and their contribution to the organization. It is most important as well to acknowledge people's achievements. If you stop or you don't even acknowledge your team members, that's where the bridges start to crack and eventually break. So the 5 elements to team harmony and success, and I'd spoken to you earlier that these are the areas you need to focus on It's also for your assessment and your assignment. The self-awareness, being aware, this leads to better understanding of others and yourself. Self-regulation, so your ability to use emotions in a positive manner to facilitate tasks and ensure that they reach the end of the projects and programs, and also motivating fellow team members to contribute to their best and be at their best. And empathy. And we find there's so little empathy in organizations as well. This is the capacity to recognize others' state of mind or their emotions. So it's about putting oneself into someone else's shoes. And then when you say, let me put myself in your shoes, and then see things from your perspective, that's when you show empathy. You're putting yourself in that person's shoes to show that you understand where they're coming from. So when you say the words, I really understand where you're coming from, and this is the business perspective on things, but I understand your point of view. So in the midst of you having a discussion with people, you must have that level of empathy. And then the social skills as well. So social skills are also quite important to help stimulate cooperation, help to develop people's social skills, and this is for collaboration. If you've got teams in an organization that need to get along for the success of a project, collaboration is very important. Also, techniques for giving and receiving feedback. So feedback is information about performance, and it is governed by people's expectations and perceptions. So we find that when people are giving and receiving feedback, the golden rule when giving feedback is that you need to avoid generalizations and say, remember how the other mine was so successful in reaching those targets and having those met, and those other businesses do it so well. Or you say, all businesses can do this work, why can't you? So you made a generalization. So those generalizations, people tend to lose the trust and the faith, and they think that you're really just picking on them. So if you want to give a good example of something, and when you're giving feedback, rather be very specific in your feedback. Always keeping calm, especially if you have the tendency to get aggressive. When you're giving feedback, just be aware of your tone, your body language, and that is important. Focus on your behavior. Do some introspection. Never attack people when you're speaking to them. So feedback is that link between the things you do and the things you say, and understanding the impact on others as well. That part is part of the self-awareness journey as well. So giving constructive feedback is most important. There are the following conditions for giving effective feedback. One, it's about noticing the environment. So you have to have the right opportunity and the right atmosphere when you're giving feedback. Don't now tell someone you want to talk about their performance at a staff party, because that's not the right opportunity, nor is it the right atmosphere. And the procedure, you have to create the right process and ensure that feedback is in person, face-to-face, and begin on a positive note. So an example of this would be, if I wanted to do performance reviews for staff, I'm going to send a meeting request to all my staff saying, okay, everyone, it's time to prepare for staff reviews. The process is as follows. You refer people to the policy of the company on performance management. You refer them to the procedure. You help them to start getting their paperwork in order. And you set a face-to-face discussion with them. And people must be open to giving feedback about whether they are nervous about the process. If anyone wishes to talk about it beforehand, give people that opportunity. And when you're seeing people face-to-face, always start on a positive note. If you start a discussion on a negative note, and you say to a person, you're always doing this wrong. Now we have to sit and fix this. You don't even meet targets. So the way we address our teams, the way we speak to people is important in creating and building a relationship, in building a rapport with these people. A lot of people need encouragement. They need to be told that they're doing things well. They need that encouragement from you as a leader. Good leaders and future leaders will help to promote staff morale. So positive is a good message opens the receiver to a genuine communication. So on a positive light, you need to make sure that you prevent people from just switching off from the rest of the words that you are saying. People will no longer listen to the rest of what you have to say if you start on a bad note. So when you open on a good communication note and you open with a note to say, thank you for all the work that you've been putting in over the last year or years or on these projects. You are a valuable member of our team. And then you start to give constructive feedback and you deliver that constructive feedback and say to the person, despite everything that we are going through, and there have been some challenges on this project in achieving target, I believe that you can really focus on improving the following areas, and you give that person an opportunity to give input as well. Because the person, it's natural sometimes for people to want to already start talking when you are talking, to say they want to protect themselves, to say, but I did this correct, but it was someone else's fault. So when you start to say to an employee that you believe that there are areas of improvement, and let them know while you're talking that I'm going to go through some of these areas that I think you can really build and grow on as a future leader, as a future team leader or supervisor. And you say to them at the end of that, that I will also give you an opportunity to show me where you think you could also improve, or maybe I am not, I'm not fully on track with whether you are on, you need improvement in these areas. So give the people an opportunity, that person an opportunity to give feedback, and always end on a positive note. A final good note leaves the person feeling still excited about being part of the organization, a part of the team, that they believe that no matter what happens, they're going to try their best to continue working there and improving on the areas that were pulled out. But all in all, there's a positive outlook for them and their future. So that's called the sandwich effect as well, where we go through the sandwich effect, how to give constructive criticism. We use the sandwich effect. You'll find this in your learner guide as well. We won't have much time to go through the detail of this, but the sandwich effect opens up positive comments. In the middle, you give some praises of what the person's been doing great, they're doing well in. In the middle, you give them some compliments again, and then you start to give a bit of criticism, but also number 4, you remind them of the strong points, their strong characteristics as well. And then at the end, you leave on a positive note. So all of this, great win-win situation. Who here has any comments? Can I get some comments on how have you handled criticism in your workplace?
Nah, guys, this is an interesting one. Let's hear from some other
Yeah.
people. Walter,
And
Teto, Pule, Tandeka, how have you guys handled or criticized people in your organizations?
okay, anyone here want to share?
Teto,
Thank you,
Teto.
Teto.
Hi once more, everyone.
Hi, Teto.
How I've provided a lot of criticism over my period and in managing, and I always led with a positive sort of recognition of good efforts. And then I'd sort of then end with the criticism. I wouldn't apply the last part of the burger or the sandwich, and end off with a positive note. And so this is very insightful and, causing me to reflect a lot over the
I'm so
past,
glad.
and to, be encouraged to just add that extra layer of the sandwich going forward.
Oh, great. Thank you for that, Teto, and thank you for sharing. We find that somewhere along the lines in the workplace, people are leaving out a few of these steps in the constructive criticism sandwich effect. Selo, thank you. You're welcome to speak.
For me,
Sorry, Selo, a little louder, please.
I was saying, I think at times, from my side, in terms of the workplace, it depends as well.
Sorry, Selo, we've lost you temporarily there.
Adeline, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. I was saying at times, I think it depends where the criticism is coming from. And as a leader, for example, wherein I found that the criticism was coming from my wife, it becomes like it's more of an attack at times when you're hearing it, and then you so like refuse and you become adamant that I'm not going to change because maybe it came from your partner. And as Brendan has said, at times maybe it's how the criticism is being let's say served from where, from what environment. If it's at home and your boss, it's your wife, it becomes a little bit difficult. You can say maybe let's go and talk at a workplace or in an office so that it doesn't really affect um, even your relationship. So
Yes, yes. As long as you remember always, Selo, that the wife is the boss. Just a light moment there, Selo. So yeah, you will find that in the setting that
yeah,
one always needs to look at the different scenarios from home to work as well, and using all the method of the sandwich effect, this constructive criticism effect is going to help with relationships, building and maintaining relationships. Apply every layer of the sandwich, and you're going to find that your relationships improve. Prudence, would love to hear from you. Thanks. You can unmute. Just unmute. You just have a look at your audio button there, Prudence. And if you click that audio button, you can unmute. And I still don't see that unmuting, Prudence.
Okay.
Maybe, there we are.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good
Loud and
morning,
clear.
everyone.
Go ahead. Good morning, Prudence.
Yes.
Share with us.
I think most of us don't actually handle criticism very well. I myself as well. But what we don't realize is that it helps us grow as individuals. Personally, I also don't handle it well, but if somebody has some constructive criticism, you as a person, you do some self introspection and realize that, but you know what, this person actually has a good view, and it is actually a good thing that if you yourself you also gonna have some constructive criticism with your subordinates, that you highlight a little bit to say, despite this, but you are at least good at this. And that actually helps us grow as individual, helps us build a good relationship, even if the person is not going to handle it well, but they would know that you actually have a point there.
Yes, very much so. Thank you for that. And I see Gary is also written into the chat, and he said he's handled criticism from clients at the mines, for example, around documentation, safety, and quality. He listens to them, he asks clarifying questions, and then adjusts their systems by updating procedures, also improving reporting and coaching staff instead of becoming defensive. And Gary, that's a great thing as well, because one can't be defensive when we give criticism, Gary says. You do it privately, factually, explain the impact on production and safety, and agree a clear way forward. So thanks for that, Gary. And for you, Prudence, just listening to you as well on this. Now, Prudence, you can also say that you are self-aware. What you've done is you've taken the whole awareness scenario and you said, I know that I am failing in this area, or I haven't improved well enough in this area, and this is where I need to focus. So it's a great opportunity for you, Prudence, to look at that. The YEDI team also are providing us with mentoring sessions. And in those mentoring sessions, what I want all of you to do is I want you to take the offer and take up the opportunity during your YEDI mentoring sessions and take this to the fore. Take these examples. Make notes as we go along through the slides of things that you really need to work on as a person, from a perspective of being self-aware that these are some of the things you need to do. You need to acknowledge that there is an issue, that you are not really open to criticism, but start to ask more questions, how you can stay focused, get more information about it, and then also accept criticism is information that will help us all to grow. And Henry Wissinger said that. So let's be a little bit more open to criticism. Thank you everyone for sharing. We're now in the submodule 4. And the submodule 4, we're going to move a little quicker because we are expected in the next 15 minutes to move over to the next module. Now, positive and negative impacts of emotional intelligence. I'm not going to read this to you. This is in your workbooks already. But just to give you a high level of the positive impacts. So emotional intelligence will lead to positive interactions with people. That's it, straightforward. Nothing sugarcoating this. When you look at your teams, your functional teams versus a dysfunctional team, you will see that functional teams are people who are aware of what they're doing wrong, of their emotions themselves, and how they can improve. And a dysfunctional team is not really aware of the impact they have and their behavior has on others. So when you are reading these scenarios in your book as well, and I say to you, please just pop me a message as well. We will be putting our WhatsApp group in place. I think we are started with that. And from that group, we'll be talking about these things a little further because we've put aside 3 hours of time for all of you. There will be a requirement for you to read out further, and you will also get some other recordings along the way to refer to. But when we look at negative impact here, that was the lack of emotional intelligence and that lack of skills as people taking issues personally. And as Prudence had pointed out as well, people who don't want to take constructive criticism, some people don't. They're not even aware. Others are not even aware. So on that point of constructive criticism, one needs to do a lot of introspection. Let's now look at the impact of emotional intelligence on the organization's bottom line, because great leadership, and have a look at the right-hand side, those blocks. Great leadership consists of someone who can delegate well, and think about yourself in this. You have a better sense of humor as well. You have good communication skills because you've run the poll already and people can hear you clearly. You can communicate well. Your team understands you, the attitude, your attitude is well. People who work with you have great attitude because they believe in your leadership style. There's creativity from all sides, from your side and from the teams that you deal with, because your hiring skills have been on point. You look for people that you could work well with when it comes to creativity. You've got committed team members, people who are honest and have integrity. So a great leader will have these qualities as well, and look for these qualities in the team that surrounds them. So optimism is an emotional competence that leads to increased productivity. Always be optimistic that you can have the greatest of people around you, and you can groom people that are not there yet to be all that you need them to be. Because great leaders are not born. Great leaders get developed over a series of years and times with lessons learned. So when it comes to EQ and leadership, it is critical for effective leadership to have these qualities. So when compared with IQ and technical expertise, the emotional factors mattered more than twice as much. So it provides the bedrock for competencies that are important, and it also refers to the personal and social skills that are leader to superior performance in the world of work. How many of you here, just show of hands very quickly, recognize these qualities in yourself? Who recognizes more qualities of these in yourself? Yes, thank you. We've got some hands here. Prudence. Thank you. Thanks, Teto. Anyone else recognize these qualities in yourself? Okay, let's leave it at that. So thank you. It's about sharing whether you recognize this in yourself. Let's look at low versus high emotional intelligence. Low emotional intelligence, high emotional intelligence. The low emotional intelligence is where people feel very aggressive, they get bossy, confrontational. They're a little selfish, a poor listener, passive. Please take the time to read this. High emotional intelligence, people who are assertive, strong-willed, charming, patient, good listener. Can everyone please participate in the chat now? 1 minute, I will be timing you. I want everyone to tell me who here can recognize any of this in themselves. You can write it into the chat. So this is pertaining to you. Would you like to mention this? Sometimes people don't want to write this in the chat. Do you think you're a good listener? So share with the group maybe some of these positives. Let's share positives. Tell everyone here what on the high emotional intelligence you think you possess. Are you a warm person? Are you assertive? Are you strong-willed? Are you decisive? You don't take time to make decisions. You're unsure. You make decisions. I'm going to open the chat to see if anyone is going to share anything here. Don't see any sharing. Does anyone want to share anything about positive? Let me just take this away. Okay, so I'll give you time to think about this without belaboring the point. If you want to share, we'll have a look at the chat a little later as well. So your low and your high emotional intelligence will say a lot about you as a leader, as a future leader. And you can find more information about this on page 35 of your workbook. So this is the detail of it and the characteristics. So the characteristics in a leader with emotional intelligence. Is there someone who wants to say something? I think there's someone unmuted. So characteristics in a leader, this is what we would look for. Someone who knows themselves, someone who's progressive, someone who's insightful, perceptive, positive, has purpose, a visionary. So I want you to take an opportunity also to go through your workbooks, have a look and read this. I truly believe that these elements and characteristics of a leader is something that you would want to build and focus on increasing if you feel that you are not actually there yet, but there's an opportunity to get there. Now, we'll come to the last module here, which is on evaluating your own level of emotional awareness. I've given all of you exercises for this module. And these exercises will refer to yourself, your life, your own responses to life and work situations. So you'd have to look at the 4 domains of emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management, and look at the strengths and weaknesses that are analyzed with reference to the concepts and principles of emotional intelligence. These are the techniques for improving own emotional intelligence as well. And one uses this to describe and understand whether they are there yet or they need to work on it. I will ask everyone to make sure that in your mentoring sessions that you look at this very carefully and take this into mentoring sessions, that you will able to use these scenarios in your workplace. It's about knowing you, knowing yourself, how you are from a self-awareness perspective, and managing yourself, how you would develop yourself and motivate yourself and improve your skills, maintain good physical health as well, and develop an opportunity to breathe and relax. Wellness programs in the workplace are a key contributing factor to self-management because it supports you in getting to the stage of managing any issues with anger or having to take criticism positively, and working on all of that. And then looking at self-awareness as well, developing a positive view to others, and also understanding basic emotional needs. And then your relationship management also, which is about reflecting, listening and empathy. So develop those skills so that you can have better relationship with others. When you start to understand how your staff are feeling, what they are going through, if you can get their situation right, they will be an employee without barriers to being the best that they can be. So concentrate on that as well, and observe your behavior and your responses over the next few weeks. Have a look at measuring them according to Goleman's 5 competencies of yourself, your social side. And there is an exercise as well in your workbooks as well. We'll go into some detail on that when we have the catch-up session. And then a SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis looks at a growth mindset. And we have to find out whether you have a growth mindset or you have a mindset with challenges that says, I can't do this, or I won't be able to do this because. And if you starting those sentences with, I can't do that because of this, you need to look at the SWOT analysis. And from a strengths perspective, what are those advantages do you have that others don't have? Look at all the strengths, ask all these questions, answer all these questions. Do some introspection. And all of this is part of some of the exercises that you have, but go through your books. The SWOT analysis is a powerful technique to look at yourselves, your strengths, your weaknesses, what opportunities are available facing you, and what are the interesting trends that you are aware of that you need to take control of and take charge of. And what are those threats? Is there an obstacle in the way? Is your job a bit too demanding? Does it change too fast, and you are unable to adapt? Is the technology probably becoming a threat to you and what you're doing? Do you need to possibly take time out, strengthen your skills? Have a look at the SWOT analysis. As I said, the slides will be sent to you. Have some self-talk. And self-talk is thoughts. Our thoughts are so powerful, you know. We can be whoever we want to be. You can conquer anything if you maintain a positive attitude. So tell yourself that you need to be aware, evaluate your situation, consider everything around you, rethink your situation if you need to. Consider whether you have the potential to do things and then take action to get it done. That's going to create a positive outlook for yourself and your future. Everyone has different perspectives. Some people will see one person's perspective as challenging. The person is just concentrating on all the wrong things in life. But then when from that person's perspective, they probably are trying their best. They're just not sure how to be guided out of this negative situation. So you got to look at this from a different perspective. Put yourself sometimes in someone else's shoes. Help them whilst in their shoes to identify the real problem and help them to get to the real solution that will be amicable for both parties. That is the only way you're going to find that you'll be able to move forward. Thank you very much, everyone. You have been a great and participative group. Can everyone let me know how was the session? Some thumbs up or some great emojis, or you're still a little confused. Thanks, Teto. Thanks, Gary and Brandon. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Prudence, Celo. Excellent. So let's take a 10-minute break. We are sitting at 10:02. Brandon, just checking in with you. Is it okay for a 10? Thank you, everyone, and welcome back from the break. I'm Adeline Singh here again, lead facilitator for the leadership module, and co-facilitating with me is Calvin Nembedzane. Calvin is the current managing director of the Brokers Learning Center, and Calvin has had over 25 years of experience in the work environment and training and development. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree and a postgraduate certificate in leadership development. He is an accredited and qualified skills development facilitator. He's an assessor and a moderator and a coach and mentor for the Small Enterprise Development Agency. He's also been sought out by the sector education and training authorities to be a business mediator and mentor as well. So Calvin, over the last 25 years, has worked over the public and private sector in industries like the clothing, textile, and footwear industry. He also served as General Secretary of the Leather Workers Union and was a representative of the insurance sector, CETA, for a period of 8 years, where he worked across the insurance and financial sector, assisting employers and business to identify the right skill sets to create a productive team and environment. Calvin runs a company, BLC Academy. He also owns a marketing and branding company called Chisima. And he also, in the last 2 years, started a clothing and manufacturing company. Calvin is a seasoned triple BEE, a broad-based Black economic empowerment advisor to many corporates around South Africa. He's a leader in skills development and business, and we are very glad to have him here. Calvin, if you want to just say hello, add anything that I might have left out while I'm starting to share the screen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for such a big brief, but anyway, thanks, I'm here.
Thanks so much, Calvin. Okay, so I've asked Calvin to come in because of his wealth of expertise in business and leadership, and a leader in his own right as well. It's always great to have business leaders come into sessions like this to share their own personal insights in relation to the content that we present today. So today's module is about leadership, analyzing leadership. I see my slides seem to be getting ahead of me, but it's the leadership modules are, okay, let me just get this right, apologies. Analyzing leadership and related theories in a work content. So there are 4 modules. The modules won't take a long time to go through. All persons who are able to access the material are encouraged to please go through the content in further detail. And we will be holding sessions as well, again, follow-up sessions if people wish to chat, and please engage in your mentorship sessions as well. These are great learning opportunities for leadership. You will be required to, as part of your assignment, to do an assessment, formative assessment activities and summative assessment activities, all incorporated in your assessment activity workbook. You will find that activity workbook in your box folder, and in the box folder, you will look for post-course work, and that's where you will find your assignment. Okay, so let's delve into leadership. And we always start with the definition of leadership because so many people define leadership in different ways. And for many of us, leadership and about leadership is what is about people's actions that inspire others and inspire others people around them. So if your actions inspire others to dream more, or to do more, or learn more, or become more, then you're a leader. So just think about it. Take a moment to pause. If you've had any influence on these, then this is it. So if you find yourself as well where you have a staff complement where people don't want to leave you, they don't wish to leave you, they don't wish to move on to another organization because of your leadership style, people will leave because you've groomed them well enough to leave you and seek greater challenges. And that's when you encourage people to go and be leaders of their own. That is a true leader. So a true leader being someone who really encourages people to grow more and be more than they can be. Any leader who holds on to people and feels that this person is quite an asset to me, so I won't take time to groom them or develop them any further because they may leave me, that's not true leadership. So leadership is known to exist and have an influence on people's performance. But it's also that inner workings, that little intricacies. One can't really spell it out. We can't really talk about it, but we know that there is a science. It's not well documented, but there is something about the methodology of how certain leaders get it right. So there are 10 ways to define the art of leading. Having a look at these 10 traits here of vision. So someone who has a clear vision and they share it with others. And that's what leading means. Also, motivation. So when it comes to motivation, a leader knows how to motivate people. They know how to channel the energy of others around them and create an environment of professionalism where everyone's able to achieve objectives. And A leader is someone who's serving and be at the service of their team. When their team needs them, they are there. They make time. They put themselves in the shoes of others and have a genuine care about others. They do things for others, people in their team. Good leaders are able to create an environment that encourages team members to develop themselves and be all that they can be. So they create that environment. So think about your organizations. Have you created the environment where your staff can get to go on training? You allow them time off. A leader is that one that sets the bar high for people, because you want them to reach those goals and bring the best out of them. You want them to be everything. And so you will keep setting that high bar for them. That leader is that person at the forefront. They will lead their teams. They guide their teams throughout the entire process. So that is true leadership. True leadership is about building the teams. It's about it's about working in a team to reach a common goal, having that team there, making sure that they can collaborate with each other, and there is no infighting. And we find a lot of businesses these days won't make it that well because they don't have that level of understanding as teams should. A leader is one responsible for taking the risks. They take all the risks that other people are not willing to take. So also true leadership is about continuous improvement. If you've recognized and you're self-aware that I have some shortcomings and I need to improve on this, then you are that person that is a true leader, looking at improving yourself always, not waiting for anyone else to do things for you, but you take that opportunity. So the quality and an attribute or a property characteristic, the leadership qualities are as follows. Leaders leading and they develop others. So they help to achieve the outcomes and efforts of others. They help develop people's skills, and they develop the capability and capacity of others through helping people to attend training. They are influential. Why do you follow an influencer on social media today? Think about it. Are you the type of person that can do something similar to that in your own organization? That when you speak, people listen. If you speak and people listen, if you command and people do, if things get done, then you are an influencer, because your requests are turned into actions, and those actions show us the behavior of others and whether they respect you or not. So leadership qualities also include people of integrity, people who are honest, and they have strong moral principles as well. There are rituals surrounding the celebration of achievements of teams. Some people have grand year-end or mid-year sessions just to recognize the talent and skills of the team that made the organization work. They provide bonuses, performance bonuses. They give away great rewards to staff and teams just to recognize the talent of the team. And they make sure that everyone feels appreciated at these sessions, not just the few, because you can lose people very quickly in celebrations. So when it comes to ethics as well, ethics is so important in the workplace. And this comes down to people's belief system as well. Ethics is around what is right and what is wrong. It is important to encourage all of you to look at the King 5 report that was just released by the Institute of Directors, South Africa. If you're in the position of leadership, if you're a manager or you're a leader, my suggestion is that, and my request is that you should also be a member of the Institute of Directors of South Africa. That is where we learn everything on ethical principles, governance aspects as well. We learn everything about people. So it's about helping us to understand our environment, about decision-making that happens, about boards. So I could talk to you the whole day about ethics, but another time, another place. And I'll say to all of you, please have a look at the Institute of Directors website. It helps you with good governance practices, the line between right and wrong, and then we look at making sense of complexity and ambiguity. Leadership qualities help us to interpret between things that are complex and ambiguous. And a good leader is one that sifts through all of the complexities and ambiguities and brings light to a conversation. It gives confidence to everyone in the organization that despite there being things like ambiguity, and though the tasks are quite challenging and there's a complexity in the work that you do, that you come through that with confidence because you have a skilled group of people in the organization. And you also have a lot of diversity in your organization, and that diversity also helps to strengthen the organization. And also leading change, helping with the process of adapting the way organizations work to meet challenging external and internal pressures. So a lot happens in a workplace, a lot of pressures in a work environment where one has to deal with. And I think I'll look to Calvin now to talk a little bit more as well about the leadership qualities before handing back to me. But in those line of businesses that he deals with as well, he tells me a lot about the changes that happens, the stresses that one has to deal with in the changing environment. So with all of that, one has to deal with the different cultures of people, cross-cultural situations and circumstances that one must deal with, and the pressures of daily work. Calvin, can I have you maybe share some of your insights? I'll just get back to that slide here. And I hope that you can unmute as well. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Adeline. I think for the team is that when we lead, we develop ourselves on a daily basis. You don't really need to stop learning, and also take your team as your learning curve. You don't really need to be studying, but your team will share with you different ideas that will work for you. So what I usually do on my work on a daily basis, I've got a list of what needs to be achieved per day. And at the end of the day, I'll go back and check what was not achieved and what has been achieved. That gives me the character of how I lead. And the following day, or on our monthly staff meetings, if it's not the following day, that's where we're going to look at where the loopholes are, what needs to be covered. In some angles, that's where you're going to get more input from your team that you have, depending on the size of your business. And it's more learning from each other while you are working. And the development that you have personally will also share with the team that you have. And what they also have will also share with you to grow you up. Again, when you talk about the influences that you're going to have, again, when you're doing the same thing, you're influencing each other on the business, and the same character that you have will go out to your client, which determine your integrity. The quality you have with your team is going to also flow into the integrity that the client is going to have. There are things that your client will know that you can't do because of your ethics, your integrity, on how you do things. And in terms of achievement, when you achieve, it's much better for having a little bit of a ceremony, a braai, or whatever team you can have with your team members. That actually builds the team together and make sure that they feel being appreciated as staff members. And also by sharing on that particular ceremony, they will be sharing whatever they have. And that helps them to be part of the team, everyone to be part of the team, not to be isolated as part of the business. Covering on terms of simplicity, yeah, in some areas it's very difficult, but in our side, we've got a rule that says we've got an open door policy. Everybody can come to me, can access me, although there are rules where you need to speak with your manager first if there are issues, and then you end up coming back to me. But I don't create a boundary where the staff has no access to me as a leader of the business. That's still there. Cultural diversity, we are all not the same. That's a fact. But as a leader, you must be able to understand different culture in your own environment and make sure that you match each other and everybody feel welcome within your own entity. Changes, there's a lot of changes in the industry, depending where you are. But for you to lead the changes in the business, and also what pressure come from outside and internal, you got to really also try and listen and be a reader of where you are operating from. That's what we normally do. But at the moment, the environment from COVID to date, right now, in some of our business, we are mentoring farmers that have been hit hard now with the tariffs. So they need not go and adapt with the change and move very fast. And an example is that next week we are going down to Limpopo to try and check how the farmers in the tomato industry could repackage themselves with the changes that they have, because now there's too much supply of tomatoes, they're going to be affected next year. How do we adapt? How do you open new market? So you got to lead the change from your own business and speak with other stakeholders. You can't be isolated. You can't be alone running a business. Belong to the forums that are going to help you out to deal with the internal and external changes. And internally also, there are issues that will affect your staff internally, which are based on outside things that are happening. I gave an example of COVID. You're going to give an example of your interest rate, your economy not doing well. We find that some of the staff now start getting into debt and everything. That are the thing that you need to work very close with your staff so that you make sure that you deal with those kind of challenges that they're facing and try and solve whatever you can solve and the pressure that they're going, so that it doesn't affect your productivity as an employer. Working very close with your team is crucial for you to lead in your business and grow your business. Thanks, Adeline.
Thank you so much, Calvin. And I particularly enjoyed the part of listening to the changes, because there's so much of legislative changes that come about. We've just had the G20 that has come through, hosted here in South Africa. And so much has been spoken about climate change and the impact of things that are happening across different sectors. I also attended in the West Rand, we attended a session for the repurposing of the mining areas. And there was so much happening because the city of Johannesburg says that there's a lot of illegal mining happening. There were open mine shafts. There are also situations with miners who no longer have jobs and need to be reintegrated back into society. So when it comes to things where you have all of a sudden external influences or external factors that have a negative effect or give pressure. For example, government has pressure to provide certain support to the mining industry and provide certain relief at the same time as well. Then those are the pressures that bring about legislative changes. And those legislative changes have an impact on the businesses, like the mines, specifically Matla and all the others where Exxaro is operating. So with all the mines and things, they have to abide by legislative changes. But you, as a supplier of the mines, what legislative changes should you be aware of? What do you need to be able to adjust and adapt to very quickly? But also, you can't just understand your own legislation. You need to also be on the point of knowing what your the client's legislative requirements are. How then are you supposed to supply to your clients if you don't understand the legislative ramifications and the legislative boundaries that they work within? So it is quite important for you to be up to date, not just with your own legislative mandates in your industry, but also the mandate of your clients as well. So when it comes to skilled leaders, with skilled leaders, one needs to look at verbal communication. So listening is a huge part of being a leader. One person's perception will never be exactly the same as the others. And so I spoke to you previously about this. I also sent you a video from Simon Sinek, and it's on your additional readings that you could actually access online in the box folder. So be the last to speak. And this is important because as we had explained in the previous presentation, that sometimes if you know yourself well enough, you know that maybe you speak a lot, you speak too much, you take very little time to come up for air sometimes, and you just give all your opinions, you tell everyone everything about yourself, and you leave very, very little room to allow people to actually share their own views. So there's an opportunity now for you. Have that introspection. Try and keep your opinions to yourself. Listen first to what people have to say, and then you can voice and view your opinion after they've spoken. And always remember to mind your language for negative speak. So speaking negatively is never good in any conversation. When you say people are always, they're not happy, they're pessimistic about things. So that from that perspective, one needs to be wary. When it comes to managing time and stress, it is important that one learns how to manage stress and manage it in a way that's going to benefit the company. Most importantly, that will benefit yourself and help you to deal with stress. Let's have a look on the right-hand side at the ABC strategy and just take a moment to have a look at this and read through this. A, B, and C. Okay. Now having a look at A, B, and C. A, which is the awareness part. Have a look at what causes you stress. How do you react? On B, there's a fine line between positive and negative stress. How much can you cope with before it becomes too much? We find that, again, this is why companies have wellness programs, because working in certain environments can be stressful for staff. C, control. What can you do to help yourself combat those negative effects of stress? Have any of you had an opportunity to do some introspection? So when we look at these ABC strategies, the awareness, and this is the knack of discerning what causes your stress. I'm going to open the floor again to hear from all of you. And so please be ready. There's also a balance. There's a fine line between positive stress, as we said, and negative. And when you have to control what can be done to combat the negative causes of stress, what do you do? So let's open the floor here. Do you think you handle stress well? What do you do? Do you know, firstly, what the causes of your stress are and how you can deal with it? How many of you know the causes of your stress? It would be great to hear from any of you. Mantombi, Umandla, Teto. Thank you, Teto.
Hi,
Teto?
Adeline. Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right. I think one of the things that causes me a lot of stress is when there are a lot of events that are taking place at the same time that are pulling me in multiple different directions. And I've managed to overcome that and manage that well over a long period of time, because I've learned breathing techniques, meditative techniques. This speaks more on taking care of myself in the
Yes.
wellness aspect in order to cope with what is required of me on a daily basis. So yes, I've learned how to manage it, and it works well very now. Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. Prudence? And you can just unmute while Prudence is unmuting. I think those are key points that Tieto has pointed out as well, on just self-awareness. And we can see already, Tieto has got that level of self-awareness. He knows what he needs to help him calm down. He's using meditation. Lots of people use different techniques. Thank you, Prudence.
The one thing that I've realized about myself, it's not being able to delegate enough and trying to be a jack of all trades, and that ends up giving me a lot of stress having to deal with many things at once. Well, I have other team members that I can actually delegate and make them aware that we are a team, we are all in this. So over the years, I've learned that delegating, as much as I'm a perfectionist, but it's not a bad idea. It helps me overcome other things whereby the team members are able to help.
Yes, yes. And that's so right, because when I chat to Calvin sometimes, so Calvin leads a big team, and there has to be the right art of delegation. Calvin, I don't know if you recall the conversation about delegating to teams. And Calvin and I always, when there's a conference to be attended on leadership, we find that the key challenge that people have these days is about the delegation and the art of delegating. There's actually more detail about it here in the coming slides, but I'm going to go through that shortly with you. But one has to recognize as well. Yes, Prudence, you want to add anything? You are unmuted still. Okay, so maybe you are unmuted still in error. Okay, that's disappeared. But the art of delegation is something that one has to master, and I think I've done that well over time. So recognizing and defining the problems, and we know that if you get to the core of things, one would look at solving a problem through just identifying what the problem is. If you don't ask what the problem is, you can't really look at generating any solutions. You've got to have a solution and an alternative solution. And then you need to evaluate all of these and select which one is most appropriate to the problem that will lead to the stress. And then implement and follow up if that solution would be the most perfect. Who would like to give me an example of this? Because this is an exercise that can really help you to deal with stress. And while I'm waiting for anyone to put their hand up, I will explain to you in a scenario of my environment where staff members have come to me with a problem. So there's always a problem, or a challenge. And I say to my team members, there is no such thing as a problem. It's a temporary challenge that you may have. And until you find the solution, it remains a challenge. But a challenge is what it says it is. It is something for you to persevere towards and make sure that you can overcome that. So I don't see problems. I just see a challenge that is a temporary, it's a temporary measure that wants to test my strengths and my methods for resolving it through various solutions. So my team members, when they approach me these days, what they do is they will come not just with a problem as they see it or a challenge, they come with the challenge and they have various solutions. So I've trained people that work under me not to just come with that problem statement. They come with the problem statement, they say then they believe that we could look at various solutions, A, B, or C, and then they will say why they will go with B and not A and C. They will give me the positives and the negatives of this, but it is an art to train your team how to do this. It takes much less time out of your day to help your team to come up with a solution because they've probably been working there long enough to come up with that solution. You should not be the one coming up with a solution with them, because then leaders are not the doers. Managers help to do, leaders form strategy. So always make sure that you instill the value system in your management team. And if you are the manager, you have to teach your teams how to come up with the enough solutions and then challenge them on each solution. All you need to be doing as the leader of the operations is challenging them on why do they choose solution B and not solution A and C. So this helps people to start to rethink their position. By that way, you are building future leaders as well. Then we would look at delegating. So I know that you spoke about, Prudence spoke about delegating already, but motivating and influencing people is also very important so that we can have open communication with people in your teams, but also delegating. And delegating helps if you do less. I've given you the example already. Just get yourself to do less. Your team will be the one developed to do the work. You start to establish a culture of trust when you can go on a holiday without worrying about what's happening at the office and with minimal disruptions. Then you have built a team, a trusted team. You've built people that you can rely on. They are efficient, and it increases the flexibility of your team because they know that from a retention perspective, they won't be stuck there forever. There's an opportunity for them to fill your position and for you to move on to bigger and better things. So it's also important when it comes to the stress relief, you must be able to set goals as well and articulate a vision. Not just sharing the vision of yourself, you as a manager sharing your vision with your team. It starts with setting the goals and as an organization, being part of the goal setting at company strategy sessions, and then looking at the short, medium, and long-term goals, how these need to be set, how these will need to be achieved. So setting goals gives you that vision, that motivation as well for the teams. When you have to focus on this, you help to build the knowledge of your team. You help to organize your time, your resources as well against any situation that is outlined in the vision and the mission statement. If you don't share your vision with your teams, if they don't, the organization does not share their vision with team members, then you're going to find that people will have their own understanding of what you are needing to do for them to do. And it will result in non-achievement of performance targets. So the vision needs to be clearly articulated. Why does a person need to reach a target? Because the organization needs to meet that target to either keep the same number of people employed, or if you do not start to meet targets, there would be a reduction possibly in employment numbers leading to retrenchments and so forth. So there is a ripple effect. And then it's self-awareness. That helps you to understand and communicate effectively with others. We've spoken at length about self-awareness and team building. And when it comes to managing conflict as well, there's a great opportunity for you to solve company problems just with supporting and bolstering the team's morale. So when it comes to conflict, this can cause people to lose confidence and they won't respect management if this is handled poorly. Question to all of you, how do you manage conflict in your workplace? Before I give you the recipe for managing conflict, who can share with me? I know that all of you have had scenarios and incidents of managing conflict. Calvin, would you be in a position to share with us now also the management of conflict? Because we have different situations of conflict many times. I see that Mantombi, did you want to share? You unmuted and then you muted again. Yes, Mantombi.
Yes, hi. Well, I found that in my workplace, in terms of managing conflict, it's much better if you just you know what can I say? If you call the people who you have a certain conflict with them, and then you guys talk it out. For me, it has worked very well, because now I'll be able to hear from their side what exactly is their issue, and then I can tell them what is my issue, and then we are able to come up with a solution that both of us agree on.
Yes, yes. Thanks so much for that, Tombi. I know Calvin messaged me, he had a problem, but yes, here he is. Your
Yeah,
sound
this
is
is
not working.
this is a very tricky one. Although the standard rule will be hear both sides of the story and try and come up with a resolution that or both parties doesn't feel that the other one is being taken care of, and then the other one is not being listened to. But one of the things that we always do, depending on how big the issue is, in some instances, that's where especially if you've got managers in your businesses or supervisors in your business, where the conflict starts between the two managers or supervisors becomes a problem. And then you have to use somebody from outside to help you, like your mentor, to come and say, can you resolve this for me? Because these guys are at a higher level. So also it works on other ways where you engage if you're too small on your own, and also be fair. One thing that it always become very tricky with us as small businesses is that some of the staff members favor things that we favor other employees, because it's based on the fact that of their performance. So I see it as one of the things, but it's a bullet that you need to buy, because you might find that when you're trying to solve the conflict between the two, the one of the employee you're trying to solve is one of your best performers. The other one is the laziest one in the business. But remember, they all form part of a team and they're all important, both of them. But now, even when you make a decision around it, if it's not in favor and you're trying to coordinate the two to the other one, if you know this one because it's been favored, it's other story. But I'm just trying to give that when we make some decisions, is to try and hear both sides of the story. The answer will be we hear both sides of the story and recommend something for them as like a judgment that all of the two party can still go back and give us production.
Thanks, Calvin. Thank you for that. And that's important because Calvin mentions as well, we've got to be wary because you've got your strong performers and your weak performers there. Prudence, would you like to share?
I always find it better that before even trying to solve any conflict, you make sure that you yourself as a leader, you are always calm. You try and identify the issue. You try and hear both sides of the story from both parties. You communicate well. You find a solution to the conflict, and you also try and make sure that you set boundaries so that next time you don't find yourself in the same conflict.
Yes, thank you for that, Prudence. Very insightful. The key takeaway from this is make sure that you yourself are not conflicted in the middle of the conflict. Otherwise, that will lead to an immediate array of demotivation across the organization. As soon as one employee says that, he's not going to even take my side because he's got his favorite there, and I know I'm never going to win this. So there's already a connotation that someone thinks that that manager or that leader is unfair because that person might have taken sides before. As a leader, you cannot take sides. You cannot favor one over the other. Do not go for drinks with one part of the team and not invite the other part of the team. It's rule 101. If you're going to have a gathering of anyone from your team and you are the one leading the team, you either invite everybody or invite nobody, because you start to set a trend that you've got to click. When a manager or a leader can have his clique. The leader's clique is all the managers. But when the manager starts to have favorites or a known clique of people and associations, not just during working hours, but maybe on weekends, certain staff get to come over, or you'll get to go to soccer games, rugby games, or whatever it is. These are dangerous circumstances that one day along the lines, I guarantee you, when there's a situation for conflict, you're going to find that you will be called out as a leader because of your behavior, a known behavior that you have favorites. You only invite certain people and you don't invite other people. So let's move on. The recipe I said to you is exactly that. So one needs to always make sure that when you're dealing with conflict, because both Kelvin and myself have managed several cases at the CCMA over our years, and having to mediate cases where one party is right, one party is wrong, and having to prepare people accordingly. But even internally in an organization, when you have to prepare people for conflict resolution, if a manager has a relationship with any of the employees inside or outside the organization, and it is known, or even it has been suggested that there was a friendship, then the manager must recuse themselves straight away and leave everything to be mediated by an additional party, a mediator. So when there's a problem, you definitely do what Prudence said. You bring the parties together. You find out from the person A separately what is the problem. Find out from person B separately what is the problem. You then bring both the parties into a room, and you also ask the both of them to state the case exactly as they said in front of each other. Person A gets a say, person B gets a say. And then you ask person A again, what would you wish to be the outcome of this situation? You ask person B the exact same thing, because you need to know in advance what is the intended solution that both people are wanting to reach towards. And maybe you can actually reach some form of conciliation where they both reconcile their differences and realize that maybe they both want the same thing. And this can be easily resolved by yourself as a mediator. But if it cannot be resolved and they both want totally the opposite things, then you need to find a middle to that solution, and without leaving both parties in too much of a negative light. Because when you have to go for something like in CCMA terms, CCMA, for those people who have not been through processes or understand the background of labor law and labor relations, so the CCMA is the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration. And when you can't get people to conciliate, or when the mediator comes in and he feels that he cannot even get two people to agree, then you have to go into an arbitration mode, because the conflict is going to cause the entire department to fall down and not achieve targets. And this could be huge reputational damage on the organization. So you as a manager and as a leader will have to make a decision. And when it comes to arbitration, there is only one winner and one loser. There is no win-win in arbitration. So employers will try not to get to the point of arbitrating conflict, but sometimes it gets to that point where there is going to be one unhappy person. But when that one unhappy person comes out of that session, that is the counseling that needs to happen with that person, to give them the perspective of the organization, working with that person post the arbitration. They have lost the case, they've lost their argument, they will be angry, they will be upset. They may even try to sabotage work going forward for the team. And that could be quite dangerous. So you always need to keep an eye on the person who has lost the argument, because that could cause future breakdown of things in the organization. So let's move forward very quickly. We don't have much time left, but we've got leadership roles, and I want everyone to just take some time out as well, read through your workbook on the various 3 types of roles that leaders have. There's roles between interpersonal, informational, and decisional roles. And all leaders have to have a level of these roles that exist between leaders and managers. With the interpersonal roles, it arises directly from formal authority, and this is the relationship between the manager and others. That's interpersonal. And the informational roles is where the managers and the leaders, they also have informational roles, seeing to people, giving information to them, being the provider of information, making sure everyone is in touch and in tune with what the communication is for the organization. And then the decisional roles, where this role entails acting upon the information. So when someone gives you information, you need to make an informed decision. One needs to have, sometimes we get something called decision paralysis, where people aren't able to make decisions easily because they are conflicted, or they find themselves with a decision that's never had to be made before. And that's why leaders have consultants. Remember what I said at the beginning, a leader will keep their strongest people by their sides to help them through anything. So a leader has a clear vision. They inspire other people to follow them. Managers get people to do the job, and that job is done regardless. So when it comes to managers versus leaders, managers have subordinates. They have power over others. They have the authority. They have a transactional style as well. Leaders have followers. They are charismatic and a transformational style. You'll see here with the styles of leadership as well. There's an example of the style of leadership that we will come through shortly. But have a look at these subject, a leader, and a manager. These are the behaviors under leadership versus management behaviors. So a leader is someone, they lead people, they have vision, they have heart. A manager is someone with stability, control, transactional. They are established. And when it looks at subjects who are the people at work, they needed to be focused. They have to make decisions as well. They have certain level of power and persuasion. And so when we look at all of these traits and behaviors, these are common aspects that you will see. When it comes to accountability as well, accountability can't be shared. Remember that. Responsibility can be shared. It is often shared, but accountability cannot be shared. So make sure that you are sure that when you are left with leading a team, remember that you are accountable. When you leave a task with all your team members, they are all equally responsible because that is a shared responsibility to the teams. So there are complementary actions, and this is in your workbook as well. Complementary actions are where leadership without management can't sustain change or improve the organization. So you've got to have management when you are leading an organization. If you don't have the management, you don't have an operational organization. You haven't groomed people enough to take over. So when we look at the complementary actions, you can look at the scenario in the grid. There's more details of this also in your learner guide. And we can discuss a little bit of this here when we have our Sunday session as well, a follow-up session for your assignments. But looking at this, I mean, leaders inspire, they guide, they envision, they talk and they support. They give hope and authorize. Managers navigate. Managers, they measure, they listen. The managers teach. Managers also are the ones who are in charge of being the bad guy. They retrench. But success requires both these managers and leaders to work together to create the success for the organization. So when it comes to the leadership theories And there are various advantages and disadvantages of the leadership theories. But the 8 types of leadership theories, which are laid out here, one which is the great man, here the belief is that some leaders are born. They are natural born leaders. And then the traits, they say that some of the traits is that their personality or their behavioral characteristics are shared by the behavioral characteristics shared by leaders are often like self-confidence. They have courage. They are risk takers. And the good leader also has opportunity to have contingency theories. There are contingency theories of leadership. And these are the style of leadership that are best suited for a situation where people will be able to make a plan no matter what in order to achieve the end goal. So there is no leadership style that is best suited in all situations. I cannot say I am a autocratic leader or democratic leader. I will choose different style of leadership depending on the season of my team, what we are going through, the type of people I have. So some of these other leadership theories, I'll ask you all to take a look, read through these leadership theories as well, so that you can have some insight. And as I said, let's have some discussion off-site as well. I'd love to hear from you in the course of this week. Let me know if you've had a chance to read through the module as well. Also discuss who would you term as an inspirational leader and why. Some people look at Nelson Mandela as a leader. Some people looked at former Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, local or international leaders. And why do people follow these people? Why are they followed? What are their traits? We have a look at the checklist of leadership traits. Do they inspire? Do they do they have a level of ethics? Do they help people to grow and improve? So in our last slide, I want to talk about leadership styles. So in this last slide, and this is our last few minutes here, this is where we pause to talk about the leadership styles. So the autocratic leadership style, and you have to figure out at what point when you're working with your team do you fit in here. So the autocratic style, and the pros of this is that the autocratic decide everything themselves without worrying about what anyone else thinks. They don't care. This makes decisions and planning quickly and simple. So they don't want to wait for anyone else. They just get it done because they don't have anyone to have as a soundboard. But this type and this kind of style in management can include people resenting the boss, the leader. There also becomes paralysis when that person is unavailable. So nothing moves, nothing happens in the organization. There's very little with creativity because your creativity is limited because only one person provides those ideas. Now, do you have the autocratic style in your workplace? And are you an autocrat? Is it the transformational style that you sometimes have to adopt? Believe in change and growth. You pushing people to the boundaries, team members to do better, be better. And this is a powerful approach as well. When you are transformational, you are seen as out of the box. And the cons of this would be that the visionary or the big picture can distract the leader from the day-to-day tasks. But it works best when the leader has a detailed orientated subordinate to keep them grounded. So you have that next in line, the 2IC, the person who's there for you to make sure that whilst you're concentrating on the people, there is still someone that will help you to keep things grounded. Or is it servant leadership as well? Servant leadership, which is looking out for people's needs. Do you listen to what the team wants? And do you favor collaboration and team building over tossing out orders? And you say, forget that. We're all taking a lunch break because you need a lunch break. The problem with that is, and the con side is, the reluctant to assert authority when it's necessary, because people will think that you can just decide to have a break because you've done it before. You didn't take work seriously at that time. So you may not get the job done because you can't mobilize your resources, because when it came to the people, you allowed them to be relaxed. So you got to be very careful when it comes to servant leadership. When we look at democratic leadership, have that final say on the team's decision. They want feedback and opinions from their subordinates before making the call. So when it comes to democratic, you want everyone to have a say on decision. The problem is this could take a long time to reach a decision. This is called decision paralysis as well. If the business needs a quick decision, your style of being democratic may prevent the company from reaching targets and resolving matters in the company. When it comes to the bureaucratic style as well, reliance on the rules, the company has policies and procedures, workers know what to expect. So you have to, at some stage, be bureaucratic and say, this is our starting times and this is our ending time. Unfortunately, you cannot leave early every day. That's the bureaucracy sometimes of working in an organization that has odd hours as well. It also kills innovation and creativity, but just understand, what are you aiming to achieve by being bureaucratic, and when is the right time to instill that? When it comes to being a charismatic leader, this type of leadership depends heavily on having a dynamic, inspirational figure in charge, someone everyone can look up to. That charismatic leader inspires their followers to strive and be the best. The cons of this is that the team's strength depends entirely on that leader's guidance. And once that leader goes, the team might fall apart. What happens? Look at the US and all their change of leadership, because I can't talk about South Africa right now. There's too much happening here, and this is not a political discussion. But look at what happened in the time of Barack Obama to the time of Donald Trump, and look at the changes that have happened and the following, and everyone with their different leadership style. And there's so much happening across the board. Situational leadership as well, which is flexible. It's shifting from democracy to autocracy to laissez-faire. And that depends on people who you're dealing with. So sometimes in the leadership style space, I, as a leader, adopt various leadership styles depending on the type of people I'm dealing with always. So, which type of leadership style have you been able to adopt? And which leadership style do you think that you need to work on? Maybe you do. Maybe you've got some introspection right now that you needed to adopt a leadership style and you haven't mastered that. So you need to make sure that you hone in on some of that. All right. So I'm going to take the opportunity now to ask everyone, please make sure that you go through some of your teachings as well, the lessons that are inside your learner guide. And if there are any questions, the date has been set for, and an invitation has been sent out for the assignment. I'm going to just round up the session. It's 2 minutes past 1 on my clock here, and I don't want to keep anyone any further. I want to say to you, Calvin, thank you for your short but brief insights as well. And I'd just rather take the opportunity to hear from anyone else on the floor on anything regarding the lessons of the day. You will be getting a evaluation form, a follow-up form. Tell us, what do you think you want to hear more of? Do you need more insights? Would you like us to share more with you? Please, any show of hands, anyone would like to unmute 1 minute before we close off? I'd love to hear from you. Walter, Pule, Mandla, anyone? I'm going to check the chat very quickly as well to see. You're welcome to just place your comments in the chat as well while we head towards rounding up the session. Anyone wants to add any insights? Let's have a look and see. Please, can you just take 5 minutes to complete the feedback form? Brandon, you're welcome to come in and give everybody any administrative questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adeline. And thank you guys for a great session. Thank you so much for the engagement.